All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and start with the 7-2A notes from our unit, which are in your notes packet. So please follow along with me while we go through this. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be using what we know about squares and cubes to solve for x. So if you look here at A through D, these are all equations that we've done through the year. Okay, so they want us to write the inverse operation used to solve each of the following equations, then show the steps used to solve the equation. So inverse operation means, hey, what do we need to do to solve for x? And many of you are going to know that, hey, this is addition. So the inverse of addition is subtraction. Well, I would subtract 3 and subtract 3. I get 4 for x. So this is subtraction. All right, what is the inverse for b? Well, many of you are seeing that negative 3x indicates that's multiplication. The inverse is division. So I would divide by negative 3. So x is negative 6. Here, that's subtraction. The inverse of that is addition. So you would add 6 to both sides, and you'd get x is negative 8. Here, we have division. The inverse of that is multiplication. So 7 times 3, x should be 21. So what does an inverse operation do? Well, the inverse is the opposite. So it essentially undoes an operation performed to a variable. I'm going to write both sides because it has to be done to both sides. So if I look at this one, it says write a story and solve the equation, write and solve an equation to find the side length of a square with an area of 25 centimeters squared. Well, we know that our side squared equals 25, right? Because our area is 25. So I need to essentially take the square root of this side and take the square root of this side to get x is equal to 5. Well, actually, that's s, sorry. So that my side is equal to 5. By doing the square root to this squared, I'm getting s by itself. Now they say, now consider the equation x squared equals 25 out of context. Is 5 the only solution for this? In other words, is 5 the only number that makes this equation true when substituted for x? And the answer is no, because negative 5 squared is also 25. So write and solve an equation to find the side length of a cube with a volume of 27 inches cubed. So for this one, I know that my side length cubed gave me my area of 27 inches, right? So this side times the height gave me 27. So what I can do is, to find this, I can go ahead and find the cubed root of both sides. Over here, I'm left with s equals the cubed root of 27. Well, what's the cubed root of 27? I know the cubed root of 27 is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Now consider the equation x cubed equals 27 out of context. Is 3 the only solution? In other words, is 3 the only number that makes the equation true when substituted for x? Well, a lot of students are going to say that, no, I could use negative 3 for this. But let's think about it. If I have negative 3 cubed, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, well, a negative times a negative is a positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. Our volume, guys, is not negative 27. You can't have a negative 27 volume, right? So negative 3 is not a solution. So in other words, is 3 the only number that makes this true? Yes. Negative 3 would not make it correct. Okay, so state the inverse operation for these below, solve the equation. Well, here we have a square. The inverse of squaring something is taking the square root. So my answer for this would be positive negative 10. Because the square root of 100 is 10, and it could be negative 10 or positive 10. For B, again, x squared is 36, so we need to take the square root. The square root of 36 would be positive or negative 6. For this one, we have x cubed. Well, the cubed means we need to find the cubed root of 27. So the cubed root of 27 is just 3. And we talked a little bit earlier about why it would not be negative 3. It's just positive 3. So let's go ahead and try some of these here. Solve the equations below. Express your answer in simplified radical form. Okay, x squared. Well, I need to find the square root. So x is equal to the square root of 64. So x has to be equal to positive or negative 8. X cubed. Well, I need to take the cubed root of negative 8. The cubed root of negative 8 is going to be negative 2, because negative 2 times negative 2 would be 4. 4 times negative 2 gives me that negative 8. What about x squared equals 5? Well, I'm going to have to find the square root of 5, and square root of 5 is not a pretty number. So you're just going to say x is equal to positive or negative square root of 5. Okay, x squared is equal to negative 100. For this one, guys, we talked about how x squared cannot, or taking the square root of number, the number can't be negative, because negative 10 times negative 10 is positive 100. If I did positive 10 times positive 10, it's 100. So this one has no solution. What about x squared equals 45? For this one, okay, we need to simplify x squared equals 45. Yes, you could say x is equal to the square root of 45, but we can simplify this down further, right? We would get 9 and 5, 3 and 3, so I get x is equal to 3 square root 5, and that is positive or negative 3 square root 5. Let's go ahead and do P, S, and V. So go ahead and try these, see what you would get. Okay, for P, if you freeze the screen in a minute, think about the square root of 1 over the square root of 36. What would you get? For S, solve like you typically would, and V, same thing. So go ahead, freeze your screen, try them on your own, and I'm going to go ahead and solve. So you get positive or negative 1/6. Here, I'm going to subtract 16 to both sides. 5 minus 6 you can't do, so that's a 1, that's a 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. You get x squared is 9, so x is equal to positive or negative 3. In this one, I'm going to divide by 2 first. You get x squared equals 8. So x has to be the square root of 8. And the square root of 8 can be simplified to positive or negative 2 root 2.